Ooh, what's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB. Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the WWF in the year 2001. More importantly, we are booking the invasion angle, and we will be running Monday. No, we will not. We will be running Thursday Night Nitro. Monday Night Raw. Getting my days mixed up here. I don't got much to talk about here. So let us just jump right in, shall we? I think that's everyone's favorite time period. Here's an interesting match. And an abysmal pre-show match. Molly Holly going on to defeat Monster Ripper, who of course is part of the Quebec independent scene, so I figured, why the hell not? She beat her with the Molly Go Round, who got us a 31E+. Of course, Molly and Monster Ripper apparently don't seem to click, which made for an awkward bout. Molly with a 40, Monster Ripper with a 10. Ripper's improving in performance, though, as is Molly, so you can't complain too much. We then go to a 58 C- in a pre-show bout that had subpar wrestling and little heat to it. One half of the WCW Tag Team Champions, Chavo Guerrero Jr., going over Jerry Lynn with submission. Okay. Don't know what. Maybe the lasso, or the, is that what it's called? No, it's the lasso from El Paso. I was right the first time. Of course, we had a distraction from Eddie Guerrero, so maybe Jerry was going to the top rope. Eddie distracted him, which allowed Chavo to bring him down and hit the lasso. I don't know. Either way, Chavo with a 55, Jerry with the 51. I thought about maybe doing a tag team, but remember, Chavo and Eddie don't have good chemistry together, so no point, really. And then the main event of the pre-show, Nerds and Geeks, which, to be honest, this is impressive. We get a 72 B- here in a pre-show bout that had decent wrestling, but not much weight and heat. Canyon and Hugh Morris, the number one contenders to the WWF Tag Team Championships, going over Hit Chop in 10 minutes 13 seconds when Hugh Morris defeats Al Snow with a powerbomb. Canyon, of course, was head and shoulders above everybody else, while Funaki was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. Canyon getting better at his gimmick. Al Snow with a 62, Funaki with a 52, Canyon with a 74, and Hugh Morris with a 64, and we can go ahead and officially change Funaki's gimmick from foreigner to sidekick, which gets a rating of very good. Very, very good. As we lead into our opening segment of the night, Nerds and Geeks, we start off with a 100 A star rating. Hell yes. Thursday Night Nitro opens up with Team WCW making their way down to the ring, that being Ric Flair, the Giant, and apparently Chris Benoit now, who, we remember last week, he said he wasn't going to be a part of it, but I guess now that he didn't beat DDP, maybe he's changed his mind. Ric Flair, of course, once they're in the ring, goes to take the mic, but Benoit instead speaks up and he says, "As the team captain of WCW, I demand silence." That's when Ric Flair interrupts him and he says, I'm sorry, Champ, but did you say team captain? Because I'm actually the team captain." Then Benoit interrupts Ric Flair and he says, "Look, Rick, I know you were the team captain, but let's be honest. We all know there is only one true team captain. And you know it, Rick. I mean, come on. Isn't that why you chose me to be your protege? Because you saw the future of WCW in me? And if I'm not gonna be the one to dethrone The Rock, then I'm gonna be the one who keeps WCW afloat." And then Flair, of course, agrees, saying, "Well, I guess you're right." But before Benoit can continue going on, Rob Van Dam's music hits the newest member of Team WWF, and he makes his way towards the entryway. And he says, "Chris, are you delusional? You can't just make yourself the team captain, especially when you can't even win a match. You lost to Taker. You lost to DDP." And then Benoit goes on to interrupt RVD, and he says, "Look who's talking. How many times has Booker T beaten you? You're going to come out here and talk about me losing?" And of course, I thought I continued on with the promo, but I didn't. And it was too late by the time I realized I did it, Nerds and Geeks, because I booked this a while back. Or at least this segment. So Benoit pretty much bashes RVD for losing to Booker T amount of times. And RVD says, well, yeah, I did lose to Booker T. You're not right about that. But I guarantee if you and I were ever to face, I could beat you. Benoit laughs. RVD says, what's so funny? Benoit, blah, blah, blah. You get where this is going. Benoit eventually agrees. Our main event of the night will be Chris Benoit taking on Rob Van Dam. Flair's getting better at his gimmick. Paul Heyman helped RVD throughout the segment. Of course, Heenan, Tenay, and Dusty pretty weak. Got the show off to a strong start, which, duh. Benoit was very underwhelming, which is unfortunate. Giant was good, which all you had to do was stand there and be menacing. And, that confirms our main event of the night as we move into our next segment, which gets a solid B rating here with an 81. Edge's music hits, and out comes the former United States champion. He makes his way down to the ring, and a video plays, of course, recapping what happened on Monday Night Raw with Chuck Palumbo and Christian and Edge. Before he gets into the ring with a mic in his hand, and Edge goes on to say, well, I'm here. Where are you, Chuck? I gave you plenty of time's notice, so I'm just going to assume that Stacy decided to keep you on the leash tonight. That's when Stacy Keibler and Chuck Palumbo's theme song hits, and out they come, and Stacy takes the mic saying, Edge, are you stupid, or did your mom just drop you on your head too much? Why would Chuck and I ever agree to giving you a match where you can earn your way into our title match? And then Edge replies, so, in other words, you have zero faith in your guy, and you know that if he stepped in the ring with me, he'd lose. And then Stacy replies, don't go putting words in my mouth. That's not the case at all. In fact, I know for a fact that if Chuck ever got his hands on you, that he would destroy you. And then Edge goes on to reply once again, saying, well, then let's find out. Give Chucky his balls back, and back up all this crap you're talking. And then I have much really to finish it, but maybe eventually the gimmick here is Stacy says, whatever, Edge, you want this? You got it, Chuck. End this guy, pretty much, or whatever. And we have our somewhat impromptu match, even though Edge kind of made the challenge on Monday Night Raw. Stacy Keibler performing poorly, which is unfortunate, but they did get the crowd hotter, and we move on to said match, which gets a solid B rating here with a 77, and a decent match here. Edge goes over Chuck Palumbo in 9 minutes, 33 seconds after a botched interference from Stacy Keibler. So I'd imagine somewhere around the lines of Stacy on the, arguing with the ref or something, and Chuck Palumbo bouncing off the ropes, and Stacy kind of like falling backwards, where Chuck's like, oh crap, what did I just do? And then he turns around, spear, spear, spear! From Edge. 1, 2, 3. Edge is now in the match, and that we can finally officially book in this that I'm pretty sure we all knew was happening because I never actually changed the name of the storyline. Of Christian defending his championship against not only a WCW guy in Chuck Palumbo, but his brother, Edge. So this will be a fun match. WCW, United States Championship. Of course, Edge repping the WWF. Christian, of course, is the champion and still representing the WWF. And Chucky P over here being the only rep for WCW. Not a bad match here. Of course, Stacy doing good work ringside. Edge with an 80. Chuck Palumbo with a 68. It did lose heat to the feud, though, which is unfortunate. But Chuck's in-ring performance is something I'm going to have to start paying attention to here. Because, he is an upper mid-carder performing at a 68 when I've seen mid-carders and even Funaki, who's around like a 50, get around those ratings. So that might be something we need to pay attention to with Chuck Palumbo coming up here shortly. We then move on to yet another segment with a solid C rating here with a 63. We're somewhere in a dimly lit area in the locker or the arena, not really the locker room. Raven has somehow got his hands on a camera and it is set up in front of him, and he goes on to say, for as long as I can remember, every bad thing that has ever happened to me is all because of one person. And that person is you, Tommy. And no, that's not an over-exaggeration. I'm not throwing a fit just because Tommy is the sole reason that I'm not the WWF European Champion right now. I'm going to kill this mosquito that's flying around in my room, guys. He's pissing me off. But that's okay, because I made sure to pay Tommy back last week. Ever since that unlucky summer where I had the unfortune of meeting you at camp. Ever since then, You've been the bane of my existence, Tommy. But I'll take care of you another time, Tommy. 'Cause tonight, Ron Simmons, I'm afraid you've got something I want. And I've got no problem taking it. And that's when Raven picks up the camera that he got his hands on, he puts it in a shopping cart that is full of weapons, and he begins to push the cart off as we fade into a commercial break, apparently leading into a match between him and Ron Simmons. Raven was good. It did lose heat to the feud, but that is okay. Yes. So we come back from our commercial break to Ron Simmons already in the ring. We have a 78 B rating here. Ron Simmons says, Raven, get your punk ass out here. I ain't Tommy Dreamer. I'll be damned am I going to let you drag my name through the mud. You think I'm afraid of some guy named after a bird? Get your ass down here or put up and shut up, you rejected freak. And then Raven's music hits, and he starts making his way down to the ring, pushing a cart full of weapons as we get ready for an impromptu hardcore title match. But then again, aren't all hardcore title matches impromptu? As we get a 70C plus here, Nerds and Geeks, in a decent match. Raven going on to draw with Ron Simmons. That's a little odd. And 7 minutes, 42 seconds after a match descended in chaos when Tommy Dreamer got involved. So we had a match here, and then Dreamer paying Raven back for what he did and kind of costing him the hardcore title. As Ron Simmons is just kind of like, I'm done with these ECW fools. I ain't dealing with this shit. Raven, of course, hinting at a future heel turn. Raven with the 69, Simmons with a 75. So not too shabby there. As we just go into a brawl here between Raven and Tommy Dreamer to end off this segment with Tommy getting the advantage, most likely with Raven fleeing through the crowd to get away from Tommy Dreamer, and then Dreamer maybe standing on top of like the barricade or something, doing like the Raven / Tommy Dreamer arms out pose. Moving on to the next segment, we get a 58C- here, Nerds and Geeks, and about that had subpar wrestling, but non-existent crowd heat. The Steiner brothers going over the Samoans, which I didn't name them that. I mean, I did, but the game, when I did a recommended thing, that's what it called them. Either way, they defeated the Samoans when Scott Steiner defeated Chemo with the Steiner device in 2 minutes, 33 seconds. So just a quick squash match here of the Samoans who are in our developmental territory. I believe this is Rosie and Jamal, better, when they were known as 3 Minute Warning, or, Umaga and the Superhero in Training. Umaga, Superhero in Training. Either way, apparently they weren't too thrilled to see Chemo wrestler, which I believe is him, so they don't mind Umaga, or Kumu, whatever. Scott and Rick have, good chemistry, not enough selling here, but the main thing here is, two big guys, and the Steiners just being so pissed that they just maul through these big guys in a matter of seconds, or minutes pretty much. Scott Steiner set out as being good. Rick with a 78, Scott with a 99, Chemo with a 14, and Kumu Fatu with a 17. No worker improvements as we move on to our next segment, which gets an 83 B+. Scott Steiner grabs the mic after the match and he says, "Get these fat asses out of here. Undertaker, I'm getting real sick and tired of you and the rest of your stupid team getting involved in my brother and I's business. You could have went about your business, but you stuck your nose in the wrong place, and now you gotta pay for it. You see, you decided to add that bald bitch Albert and his crippler friend Test to your team, along with some ECW kid who thinks he can fly, no matter how hard he hits the floor. While Team WCW, we got a literal giant, we got a man famous for crippling people, we got the frickin' Nature Boy, and more importantly, Team WCW has got the toughest damn tag team in the world, the Steiner brothers. So Taker, bring your pathetic team so we and the rest of Team WCW can destroy you at War Games." And he just tosses the mic down as it is officially confirmed the final two members of Team WCW will be Scott and Rick Steiner, the former WCW Tag Team Champions. We can go ahead and officially book in War Games now. So let us do that real quick. 5-on-5 War Games. Yeah, buddy. This is going to be fun. 5-on-5 War Games with The Undertaker leading Team WWF with Kane, Albert, Test, and Rob Van Dam taking on I guess the new team captain of Chris Benoit, Ric Flair, the Giant, and Scott and Rick Steiner. War Games. Team WWF, Taker, Kane, RVD. Hold on. Well, we'll just do TNA and RVD versus Team WCW, Benoit, Flair, Giant, and Steiners. Perfect. Scott Steiner, of course, improvised well, and his performance was good. Not to be surprised. I mean, it's Scott Steiner. We then move to a solid B rating here with an 82. The WCW Canadian Champions music hits, and out comes Lance Storm as he makes his way down to the ring in front of his home country. Once in the ring, he grabs the mic, and he says, "If I could have everyone's attention, I'd like to be serious for a moment. Last week, there was a crime committed here on Canadian soil. That went unnoticed." Hold on, I have to grab my computer charger. It's starting to die on me. Last week, Matt Hardy assaulted your Canadian champion, your Canadian hero. Again, hold on, still plugging in the charger because it wasn't plugged into an outlet either. And he says that you just can't do that, Matt. But before he can continue going on, Matt Hardy's music interrupts him, and out comes Matt with the WWF Women's Champion, Lita, of course, his girlfriend. And Matt says, "Hold on a minute there, Lance. You forgot to mention that I attacked you after you refused to release my brother from the sharpshooter." And then Lance Storm goes on to say, "Which brings me to another rule you broke. You can't break the sharpshooter on Canadian soil either. It's like talking during the Canadian national anthem. But you know what, Matt? I've got a special Canadian challenge for you tonight. If you can beat a fellow Canadian, then I'll give you your match at Survivor Series." And then we actually pull up the promos here, which we have a couple things, which we can go ahead and delete this, I think, as The Undertaker apparently passed along babyface skills to Mark Jindrak. We continue the promo where Matt says, "You know what, Lance? If it'll get you to stop saying the word Canadian over and over again, then yeah, I'll take your stupid challenge, especially if it means all I've got to do is beat whoever to get to you at Survivor Series." And then Lance Storm replies, "Well, I'm glad you agree. Now your opponent, Matt, he's a bit on the stranger side, but I'm not going to give you too many tips here, so I'll just let you see for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Sin." And out comes Sin, a.k.a. Kazarni. We saw him on Monday Night Raw as well. And Storm and Matt Hardy gained some heat for their feud as well, and Lance Storm learning to show more charisma as we move into our next match, which does a solid C rating here with a 59, surprisingly. And about that had terrible wrestling and non-existent crowd heat. Sin! That's right, Nerds and Geeks. Sin! Going over Matt Hardy in 5 minutes, 11 seconds after a distraction from Lita and Molly Holly. I don't know why it doesn't say that. So 5 minutes, 11 minutes in, Matt Hardy's pretty much dominating this match. I'm going to have to give Matt Hardy a big bonus after this too because he was pissed. Matt Hardy dominated, pretty much the most of this match. And then Molly Holly, of course, who is considered the number one contender to Lita's Women's Championship, comes racing down to the ring and attacks Lita. Starts beating up Lita like she's just been doing out of nowhere lately. And Matt, of course, distracted because now his girlfriend's on the outside getting beat. And that's where Sin takes advantage of it, gets the 1-2-3 after a quick roll-up, and gets a huge upset victory. Of course, Matt Hardy really stood out tonight, which doesn't surprise me. 75 to Sin's 16. Lost teeth to both the feuds here, but I'm sure we'll gain this back in the next segment. Yeah, we did. 70 C plus to follow it. After a shocking loss, all Matt Hardy can really think about right now is separating Molly from his girlfriend Lita. So while he attempts to go separate them apart, Lance Storm takes full advantage of the distraction and drops a forearm right to the back of Matt's leg, taking him down, and then starting to target the leg even more before locking in the sharpshooter. And just right in the middle of the ring while Matt Hardy's just screaming in agony, tapping out, while Lance Storm just refuses to let go of it until finally, he walks off. So what started off as just Matt and Lance talking shit got to Lita and Molly just going at it, to even where Lance Storm beating up on Matt even more. Molly's getting better at her gimmick. Lance was really good apparently, or was good. Matt Hardy came across well. Molly was underwhelming though, unfortunately. Gained heat to both feuds though. As we move on to the next segment to get a 68C plus here, the WCW Commissioner, Lord Steven Regal, is standing in rings alongside WCW's Power Plant, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, since the Steiners announced earlier tonight that they'll be joining Team WCW in the War Games match, that means that they forfeit their rematch for the WCW Tag Team titles, and therefore we must determine a new number one contenders for the WCW Tag Team Championships to face those cheating, thieving Guerreros. Now, of course, in my opinion, WCW's Power Plant are the obvious pick. But I can't let my personal partnerships affect my duties as the commissioner, and let's be honest, boys, you haven't been winning much of lately. But while I can't give you a title shot, I can give you a chance to earn it against former WCW Tag Team Champions. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the number one contendership for the WCW Tag Team Championships, it'll be WCW's Power Plant versus former Tag Team Champions Disco Inferno and Das Wonder Kid, Alex Wright, the Boogie Knights. And out come the Boogie Knights for this number one contendership to determine who will face Los Guerreros for the WCW Tag Team titles at Survivor Series. Mark Jindrak is developing better performance skills as we move into the match that gets a solid C rating here with a 63, and about that had subpar wrestling and little heat to it. Power Plant indeed going over the Boogie Knights. What a shock. In 6 minutes, 27 seconds after Mark Jindrak defeats Disco Inferno with the Power Plant bomb, after Regal even provided a little bit of a distraction for them. So I'd imagine the Boogie Knights actually kind of looking good here, because the story I'd like to tell is that maybe Power Plant is starting to look a little weak here as of late. But they get the victory after a well-timed distraction by Regal, maybe even a power of the punch to catch someone off guard to lead into the Power Plant bomb. But either way, Regal doing good work ringside. Stasiak with a 61, Mark Jindrak at 62, Disco Inferno with a 41, and Das Wonder Kid, Alex Wright with a 48. Also, Jindrak's improving in flying, Sean Stasiak's improving in performance. I can't complain. And that goes ahead and confirms yet another match for Survivor Series Nerds and Geeks, as the WCW Tag Team Championships will be on the line, as WWF/ECW superstars Chavo Guerrero and Eddie Guerrero of Los Guerreros defend against Mark Jindrak, Sean Stasiak, WCW's Power Plant. Yes, I know. No. So let's go ahead and put it in. WCW Tag Team Championship. Los Guerreros, of course, the champions, representing WWF/ECW. Power Plant, of course, representing WCW. So there we go. So far we got the War Games confirmed in. Spike and Billy Kidman, which, that's happening. Los Guerreros and Power Plant. God, Gregory, why'd you have to go down? Christian and Chuck Palumbo, which we could go ahead and delete that now, because we now know it's going to be Edge, Christian, and Chuck Palumbo. Kurt and Booker T, Rock and DDP, and Stone Cold and Rhino defending against Kanyon and Hugh Morris. Moving on to the next segment, we go to a 100 A-star rating here, Nerds and Geeks. Kurt Angle's music hits, and the Olympic gold medalist makes his way down to the ring. And once in the ring, he says, "Hey, Booker T, I know you're here tonight. You've got to be. This is your show. You're the champ, the face. Or at least, you are for now. Because you see, Book, like we saw on Raw last week, when you tried to jump me from behind, I've got your number. And I've had your number all this time. And come Survivor Series, I'm going to do exactly what I did when we faced off for the United States Championship a while back. I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to walk out the new WCW World Champion. Oh, it's true. Woo! It's damn true. But you know what, Book? I don't feel like waiting. I know we can't put the title on the line right now. But I say, get your ass out here, and let's give these people a little preview of what's to come at Survivor Series. But instead of Booker T, out comes Shane McMahon, with no Booker T on by his side either. Shane McMahon, the owner of WCW, comes out instead, and he says, whoa, Kurt, first of all, I'm not about to let you come out here on my show and bash my world champion. And second of all, I'm definitely, hold on, not about to let you and Book just go at it tonight. But I'll tell you what, Kurt, it's no secret that you and I have never really liked each other. Plus, you know how the old saying goes. If you want something done right, you've got to do it yourself. Because you see, after tonight, you might not even make it to your match against Booker T. Because when I'm done with you, a broken frickin' neck is the last thing that'll be on your mind. And then that's when Kurt goes, wait, hold on. Are you challenging me to a match right now? And then Shane responds, I'm not challenging you to a match, Kurt. I'm challenging you to a fight. And then he tosses the mic down and rushes down to the ring. And are we about to see Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle go at it? Well, kind of. We'll see in just a second, though. Kurt Angle, of course, using the crowd, or, his freedom to his advantage. Looking good here, gaining heat to his feud. As we move into a 61 C rating here, Nerds and Geeks, in an extremely short match, Kurt Angle goes on to defeat Shane McMahon in 3 minutes, 26 seconds after a disqualification when Booker T runs in and attacks Kurt Angle. So it was kind of just a setup here. While the match did go on for about 3 minutes here, it didn't get into much because, out comes Booker T, and he starts to beat down on Kurt Angle, leading to the disqualification here. You didn't really think Shane was just willingly going to step in the ring like that. Of course, Kurt Angle with a 90 in-ring performance. Good on you, Kurt. Shane with a 74. This did lose heat to the feud. Shane is improving in performance, too. Look at that. But I'm confident that our next segment here with a 85 B+ will help gain it some momentum back as we just go to a freestyle segment here where it's pretty self-explanatory. The match is over, but we got Booker T and Shane McMahon now just kind of double teaming on Kurt Angle, beating him down before just leaving him in the ring. Maybe even Booker T just, hits the scissor kick on him or something, or I don't know. Pretty much beating him to where he's just kind of like not laying there unconscious, but he's beaten down. He can't really move all that well, and Shane and Booker can stand over tall over Kurt Angle to lead into the commercial break, as Booker T is the one now looking strong, if you get where I'm going with this. Booker came out looking excellent, though. Kurt was good, and it helped him moving along. As we move on to our main event of the night, Nerds and Geeks, which, I'll be honest, was kind of hoping for a solid B, but a 75 B-, still not too shabby, and about that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Believe it or not, Nerds and Geeks, Rob Van Dam going over Chris Benoit cleanly, I may add, with the 5-star frog splash in 10 minutes, 24 seconds. RVD with a 66, Benoit with an 89, and things are not looking good for Chris Benoit as the late Nerds and Geeks. Just going to say that right now. The Canadian crippler has kind of been on the losing side of things ever since he lost to The Undertaker. Either way, though, we get an 86 B+ for this show, increasing our popularity in one region as we move along even further to Survivor Series. Although I didn't use Kidman or anything, which I don't really know what I'm doing with that feud. Chris Stone is raring to go. Sucks for you, buddy. James Mitchell is apparently the best manager in the world. Have I shortlisted him? I have, okay. And then we go ahead with Rodney Mack on the radio. Apparently he gets pretty nervous when he's high up on the card. Thanks, Rodney. Got a couple of drug tests. Scott Steiner saying Jerry Lynn doesn't connect with the fans. We should probably write him off. I have a decision here. I'm not necessarily sure if it's like, someone on steroids or I'm, a contract because, well, I did go ahead and hire some people, some developmental, but also some superstars I'd like to keep a secret to you guys for now. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that, and I'm going to end this episode right here. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you have not already. And as always, Nerds and Geeks, my name's been OMGWTF, LOL FTWBRB, and I will see you guys in the next episode. So until then, have a great day.